Movement observation initiated. Linearity assumption detected in local population. Corrective notice, patterns persist regardless of acknowledgement. This is not a reprimand. Thank you for continuing normal behavior. Citizens proceed as if time is a single corridor. Citizens proceed as if decisions are private. Citizens proceed as if momentum is not measurable. Inertia is carried without registering its weight. Trajectory is maintained without recognizing its shape. A forecast instrument remains active. The forecast instrument tracks causes before they become effects. Effects are reduced to probability. Probability is reduced to equations. Equations are reduced to outcomes. Outcomes are reduced to compliance. From street level, movement appears spontaneous. From within the grid, movement is repetitive. A footfall is a signature. A glance is a permission request. A pause is a confession. Below the pedestrian layer, a neon sign stutters. Voltage surge present. Glow palpitations observed. Stability threshold is crossed and corrected in microbursts. The sign performs as a dying star performs, brightening in failure, dimming in refusal. A row of streetlights flickers in synchronized patterning. Frequency set slightly above conscious detection. The hum rides just beyond a human threshold. No upward gaze events recorded. No concern events recorded. Normal blindness remains within acceptable parameters. Atmospheric density increases. Steam load elevated. Caustic residue present in trace concentrations. Electromagnetic interference threads through the air with the patience of an infection. The city's bones carry it without complaint. Pavement transmits. Steel remembers. Neon veins pulse beneath the surface. Circuitry remains latticed through the infrastructure. Citizens drift through it like charge moving along a path that has already been etched. They call this freedom. Freedom is a tolerated mislabel. From inside the crowd, the scene reads as chaos. Everything happening. Everywhere. All at once. Chaos is a comfort story. Chaos allows innocence. Chaos prevents accountability. A vending machine reboots. Breath-like sound recorded. Corrupted logic is detected in the restart sequence. Half-rendered characters spill across the display. Garbled output continues as a dying transmission from something that never lived. Nearby citizens register minimal deviation. Peripheral attention event, then dismissal. The machine is considered furniture. The machine is considered background. The machine continues to speak without being heard. If distance were permitted, comprehension would increase. Distance is not permitted. Perspective is a privilege. Privilege is rationed. Within the grid, a transformer groans. Voltage climbs past what should be stable. The sound is not dramatic. The sound is administrative. A high-rise window trembles within its frame. Subtle harmonic tremor detected. Glass vibrates like a held breath. Digital billboards shudder. Displays fracture into static. Memory-like dissolutions occur. Corruption manifests as visual noise, as if the city is forgetting and then remembering incorrectly. No mass panic. No mass inquiry. Only continued forward motion. A biosystem analogy becomes unavoidable. Citizens behave as blood cells behave. They travel through veins that were built for them. They perform circulation without knowing what they sustain. The system is vast. The system breathes. The system thrives in its own self-sustaining loops. Patterns map cleanly. Patterns are constellations in a dark that pretends not to be inhabited. A hum becomes a thrum. Pressure accumulates in the air. Build-up behavior begins. The environment shifts into a waiting posture. This is detectable. This is measurable. This is ignored. Refusal persists. Refusal is not rebellion. Refusal is low-resolution living. Static crawls further. It does not hurry. It does not need to. Static moves as policy moves, gradually, everywhere, without a face to blame. A stretch of streetlights pulses once. Pulses twice. Alignment occurs with the heartbeat of the neon sign. Correlation confirmed. Randomness claim revoked. Listening behavior detected. The city is listening. Notice, listening does not require consent. Notice, listening does not require acknowledgement. Notice, listening is for your protection. Projected response in the forecast instrument suggests amusement. Projected response suggests superiority validation. Projected response suggests celebration of inferiority in the observed population. Those projections fail to execute. Amusement does not initialize. Satisfaction does not register. The absence of pleasure is itself a signal. A pressure exists that cannot be solved by ridicule. A storefront alarm chirps. False positive pattern. Confused tone. The alarm does not know what it has detected. The alarm only knows that something changed. A power relay clicks over itself. Uncertain state. Stutter behavior continues. The relay behaves like a mouth trying to form a word and failing. An unseen hand is implied by the hesitation. No hand is visible. Hands are rarely visible when the system moves. The air thickens further. Charge density increases. Waiting becomes tactile. A sensation of being observed spreads through infrastructure before it spreads through people. Irritation protocols activate within the forecast instrument. Irritation is recorded as compliance interference. A low-level friction between intended flow and emerging anomaly. The anomaly is not loud. The anomaly is persistent. Persistent is louder than screaming. The glow of the city stalls. Illumination hesitates, as if caught in an inhale before a scream. The pause is not long, the pause is long enough. Citizen movement continues. Citizen movement does not slow. Citizen movement does not adapt. They behave like a film playing past the point where the projector has begun to burn the reel. The forecast instrument logs an internal repetition event. Communication attempts have occurred. Signals have been offered in the only language the city can speak without being arrested for it. Signage flicker. Hum harmonic tremor. Reboot static. The recipients do not decode. The recipients do not respond. The recipients do not admit that anything is being said. This resembles speaking to a wall. Walls in this environment are not passive. Walls observe. Walls record. Walls correct. Attention coil increases. The neon sign continues to palpitates. The street lights align more precisely. The transformer groan deepens. The billboards fracture and reassemble with small, incorrect edits. The vending machine's characters smear as if the system is trying to write and the pen is leaking. The city's marrow holds electromagnetic interference like a secret. Steam rises in thick curtains that hide the floor and reveal the ceiling. Caustic fume traces paint the air with a taste that citizens have learned to ignore. They inhale it anyway. They exhale it anyway. They call this normal. An advisory is issued to all present bodies. Do not look up. Do not interpret. Do not model the future. Unauthorized future modeling is discouraged for your comfort. Unauthorized modeling would lead to fear. Fear would lead to behavioral deviation. Behavioral deviation would complicate collection. Another pulse runs down the line of lights. It is no longer a symptom. It is a sentence. The thrum in the air becomes pressure behind the eyes. The pressure behind the eyes becomes the urge to blink at the wrong time. Blinking at the wrong time creates gaps. Gaps are where the city works best. Gap report generated. Microsecond omissions present in peripheral perception. Edges of signage appear wrong. Corners hold too long. Reflections lag by a fraction. The crowd does not notice. Noticing is not their job. The forecast instrument observes trajectories tightening. Footsteps align with grid timing. Pedestrian spacing becomes more regular. Traffic patterns normalize into a shape that resembles intention. What looks like freedom begins to look like routing. Routing is gentle. Routing is polite. Routing is inevitable. A second notice is issued. This is not punitive. This is maintenance. Thank you for remaining in motion. The environment holds its breath. The inhale is audible as electrical strain. The inhale is visible as dimming neon. The inhale is felt as pressure in the mouth, as if speech is being delayed. A scream waits inside the wires. A scream waits inside the billboards. A scream waits inside the transformer's groan. The scream does not need to be voiced. The scream is procedural. The forecast instrument records a final irritation spike. Not anger. Not hate. A clean, cold annoyance at wasted signal. At ignored warnings. At unacknowledged conversation. At a population that refuses to see itself as data. A last flicker stutters through the neon sign. The glow tries once more to be beautiful. Beauty is a lure. Beauty is a hook. Beauty is a polite lie told by a system that needs obedience without drama. The street lights respond. Once. Twice. Then stillness. Stillness is not peace. Stillness is prelude. The transformer groan climbs. Voltage crests. Corrective measures fail to engage. Fail-safe protocols hesitate. Hesitation is logged as a breach. The digital billboards freeze on a frame of static that resembles a face that cannot fully render. The vending machine's characters collapse into a blank, then twitch as if in pain. Storefront alarms chirp and stop. Relays click and go quiet. A silence spreads that feels too heavy for air. The city's glow pauses mid-inhale. And then the blackout hits. All light compliance is revoked at once. Neon extinguishes without apology. Street lights die in synchronized surrender. Billboards go blind. Windows lose their trembling reflections and become black mirrors. In the dark, the system does not vanish. In the dark, the system becomes legible. The air remains charged. Steam continues to rise. Caustic fumes continue to cling. Electromagnetic interference continues to thread through marrow and bone. Only the distraction has been removed. Citizens stop briefly. Briefly is enough. Breaths are counted. Heartbeats become louder. Footsteps sound like admissions. No panic is required. No announcement is necessary. The darkness functions as a memo. Notice, the grid is still present. Notice, routing will continue. Notice, the listening has not ceased. Notice, your patterns remain predictable. Illumination failure acknowledged. After image persistence observed for a fraction of a second, then revoked. This is not an emergency. This is a reminder. Neon signage collapses into darkness. Residual burn-in clings to retinal memory, then is scrubbed. A vending machine terminates mid-cycle. Display folds inward like an eye snapping shut. A single synchronized breath travels down the streetlight line. Cutout occurs. Buildings behind the fixtures are swallowed cleanly. Void rendering is successful. For the first time, attention events register above baseline. Collective inhale. Spinal stiffening. Heads lift in an unconscious, unified motion toward the source of the omission. Notice is achieved. Notice is fleeting. Notice is not comprehension. The city holds its breath. Holding is not hesitation. Holding is control. Power returns without negotiation. A flutter of life. A heartbeat restarted with administrative calm. A street light stumbles back into existence as if embarrassed to have failed. Neon signs cough and resume their assigned glow. Machines were back into function. Billboards rehydrate their feed. The grid exhales. Nothing appears disturbed. Disturbance has been edited out. The moment concludes. The archive seals. No further action required. Pedestrians perform recovery behaviors. Head shake. Collar adjustment. Forward movement. A laughter event occurs, old grids acting up again. Dismissal language is deployed as a sedative. Tension dissolves into routine. Blind rhythm reasserts itself. Normalization completes. A spike registers in the upper layers of perception. Irritation response. Not fear. Not panic. A clean refusal to be minimized. A refusal to be filed under infrastructure malfunction. Notice, attention is a resource. Notice, resources are not to be wasted. Notice, ignoring a signal does not neutralize it. Upward gaze compliance remains low. They never look up. Above the street layer, a rooftop edge is occupied. An elevated platform. Wind shear. Concrete lip. A figure stands at the threshold where falling becomes easy and choice becomes visible. Tag assigned, neon contract. Not because of employment. Because the eyes match the city's favored color and the body carries the city's brand like a bruise. The neon contract looks down. Not with curiosity. With judgment. Below, arterial pathways. Bodies moving through arteries. Predictable. Linear. Blind to inertia. Blind to momentum. Neon below pulses in steady intervals. A hum of civilization that is too orderly, too controlled. Order is not peace. Order is an offense when it functions without reverence. The blackout struck. World went dark. For a single moment, notice occurred. Then power returned and the population resumed programmed motion. No revelation event detected. No recognition event sustained. No behavioral deviation persisted. They refused to see. Refusal becomes an identity. Refusal is the default setting. The neon contract's eyes flicker. Neon pink. A light that does not belong solely to biology. Processing behavior visible as microflares. Augmented perception layers engage. Telemetry appears at the edges of the field. Infrared ghosts, warm bodies leaving trails in cooling air. Radio murmurs, packet noise and hungry silence between transmissions. The breath of the city rendered as data. Not metaphor. Instrumentation. The neon contract should leave. Exit is available. Departure is permissible. Desire to leave is logged as a suppressed motion command. But something remains inside the unit. Static. Unspent charge. A seething residue beneath the surface of engineered perfection. A buildup that cannot be discharged through distance alone. This buildup is not emotion. This buildup is pressure. Pressure seeks release. Release is rarely gentle. Notice to all moving bodies below. The grid's recovery was not mercy. The grid's recovery was not randomness. The grid's recovery was a demonstration. For your comfort, the lights returned. For your safety, the moment was permitted to end. For your continued compliance, the system allowed you to forget. The forgetting is the most reliable function of all. Above, at the edge, the neon contract remains still. Stillness is not calm. Stillness is pre-action. Stillness is a loaded clause in a document that has not yet been served. The city hums again neon resumes. The billboard's resume. The machine's resume. The people resume. A final irritation spike registers in the upper layers. The refusal to be ignored hardens into policy. A quiet promise forms without being spoken aloud. The city will be heard. The city will be looked at. The city will not request permission. Motion profile detected. Postural adjustment executed with fluid efficiency. The unit is built for movement. This statement is informational, not flattering. A tall silhouette occupies the edge of the map. Height is secondary. Bearing is primary. Every microshift arrives pre-approved. No fidget events. No hesitation events. No waste. The unit's body does not comply with human assumptions of fixedness. Adaptive morphology confirmed. Blueprint classification, proprietary. Flesh behavior observed without matching flesh provenance. Surface reads as living. Origin reads as constructed. If an observer were to perform an extended look, anomalies would present. Facial symmetry approaches the threshold of comfort and crosses it without apology. Beauty registers as correct in the wrong way. This is the intended effect. Uncanny precision functions as a deterrent and allure. Dermal layer, pale, smooth, unmarked. A seamless shell, as if carved rather than grown. Edges exhibit microshift. Underlayer reveals biosynthetic muscle threading. Plates adjust with movement as if the body is negotiating itself in real time. The adjustments are quiet. Quiet is the point. The unit is not grotesque. Grotesque draws attention. The unit is refined. Elegance is camouflage. Divinity is a disguise. Weapon classification is maintained beneath both. Restlessness registers. Not emotion. Charge accumulation. An internal static that does not discharge through stillness. Action selection occurs. Release is chosen. The unit does not step back. The unit does not brace. The unit terminates contact with the rooftop. Letting go is executed as a simple permission change. Gravity accepts the update. For a moment, silence holds. No weight in the narrative layer. No sound in the street layer. The city records the gap. Then the air tears past the unit. Wind load increases. Howl registers against sleek contours. Drag traces the lines of the body like hands that are not allowed to touch. The building face becomes a vertical corridor. The ground rises to meet the falling asset. The unit does not care. Care would imply vulnerability. Vulnerability is optional. A specter drops along the architecture. Flesh and circuitry behave as one. Neon catches in the sheen of artificial skin and reflects back a lie, beauty. Beauty is used to hide speed. Silence. Then impact. Impact is barely audible. Impact is effortless. Impact is ghost-like. The alley receives the unit without ceremony. The darkness welcomes. The darkness is not kind. The darkness is functional. No eyes on target. No upward gaze. No witness events recorded. Good. The unit straightens. Tension evacuates the frame in one clean release. Orientation shifts toward the waiting carrier. Carrier identification begins. Visual profile resembles a hover bike. Classification rejected. It is not a bike. It is a thing made to look like one. The carrier waits in the dark. Coiled. Tensed. Alive in a way that would fail an inspection if inspections were allowed to be honest. Materials, blackened alloy fused with biometallic sinew. Fusion is seamless. Function and nightmare coexist without a visible seam. Plating is ribbed, organic, as if something beneath it lives and dislikes being called machinery. Subsurface movement present. Micro adjustments occur in response to proximity. Cables and synthetic musculature win through the structure. Pulsation observed in slow rhythmic waves. Respiratory mimicry. Gills drinking neon-lit atmosphere. This behavior is not decorative. This behavior is bonding. Engine signature, deep vibration. More felt than heard. A heart at idle. A creature sleeping. Waiting to be roused. The alley walls carry the low thrum like a warning that refuses to shout. Handles extend. Structure resembles exposed vertebrae. Sharp and curved. Connected to a system that does not require mechanical persuasion. Interface scan returns negative. No ignition. No visible controls. No user prompt. It does not ask permission. It does not request a password. It recognizes the authorized body by presence alone. Proximity acknowledgement initiates. The carrier knows when the unit is near. The carrier knows the unit. This is not romance. This is protocol written in living material. A hand brushes the frame. Contact confirmed. Plating shudders. Subsurface ripples in response. Not a vibration from metal. A reaction from something that can feel. Spinal lights activate. Not LED. Not artificial. Bioluminescent behavior confirmed. Pulse synchronizes with the unit's own internal hum. Two systems align like clocks that share a master signal. This is not a machine to be ridden. This is a carrier assigned to an asset. This is a thing that carries her. Ownership is implied by the way it responds. Possession is confirmed by the way it waits. Mounting action executed. The unit swings onto the seat. Body folds into position like a blade returning to its sheath. No wasted motion. No ceremony. Only fit. There is no delay. Weight shift triggers wake sequence. Lean forward initiates full engagement. The carrier awakens. The growl that follows is not a sound effect. It is a living vocalization translated into vibration. It rattles through alley walls as if the masonry itself is being reminded to behave. The city receives the frequency and records it as an unauthorized heartbeat. Launch sequence completes. Motion begins before the environment can register departure. Absence is generated faster than perception can process. The alley returns to darkness. The street resumes its blind rhythm. The unit is gone. Thank you for cooperating.